Okay, it's Monday, so it's time to play some fighting games and answer some questions. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, alright, what's the excuse this time? And the excuse this time is that I was sick and also had a tooth infection. My throat's still kind of fucked up. So I apologize also if the video ends up being a little shorter than usual also, as a result of my throat still being a little fucked up. Also, if you're wondering which side I'm on, Android 21, Gogeta, Broly, that's me. First up, I've heard various conflicting information about ranked. I gather winnings is the be-all and end-all when it comes to SR, but how much does personal in-game stat come into play? I often, especially if it looks like I'm on the losing side, take less risks and play a more conservative style concerned about my own in-game stats. So I guess I'm asking, should I be worried about stats and focusing purely on winning no matter how many deaths I suffer? It's really not worth worrying about. People get really fixated on this, but the most that the stats are really gonna affect SR-wise is a shift of, like, maybe 5 SR, win or loss. Like, if you have lose and you have exceptionally good stats, you'll lose, like, maybe 5 less SR. And if you win and you absolutely crush, you'll gain maybe 5 more SR. The difference is extremely negligible. Once you get over Diamond, it also completely stops caring about your... I think it's Diamond. It might be Masters, but I'm pretty sure it's above Diamond. It stops caring about your in-game stats completely, and then it just becomes about winning and losing. So I would advise you to not worry about it. The difference it makes overall is so minor that it's not really going to be too much of a difference maker. Unless, like, you have, like, an extended period of performing really badly, but that's not even so much the performance-based SR, that's more that eventually the game is gonna be like, alright, your MMR, because you're doing badly, the MMR, it doesn't show you, grows. If you're on, like, a really long losing streak, your MMR is gonna go down and down and down and down and down, and then eventually the game's gonna go, we put this guy too high, and then it starts... Oh, I went almost completely transparent because the screen was so bright. Then if you're on, like, a really extended losing streak, or a really extended losing streak, the game goes, alright, they're in the wrong SR, and it starts trying to, like, catapult you up or down to match where your MMR is. This is why, like, pro players that are doing, like, some kind of unranked or GM challenge, eventually they start gaining, like, massive amounts of SR per game and losing extremely minor amounts because the game has gone... They win, like, every game and they have exceptional stats in every game as well. They're clearly placed too low and it starts trying to catch them up to it. Also, I've had this experience where I was in Masters and decayed down to Diamond because I wasn't playing enough. And as a result, it sees me win a game in, like, 3000 SR and goes, whoa, what the fuck? Their SR's down here, but their MMR's up in Masters, so I was gaining, like, 50 SR per win and losing, like, 5 SR, because it's trying to get me to where my MMR is on the SR. But anyway, don't worry about that. It almost is... The performance-based stats are almost completely worth disregarding. Don't worry about it, just worry about winning and losing. Next up, why is Doomfist the biggest mistake ever made in Overwatch? What are the other big ones? So, I think that Doomfist's kit is just fundamentally unworkable in terms of Overwatch, because I think it is impossible to get Doomfist to a state where he is well-balanced. I think his kit is such that he will always be either just overbearing or completely worthless and almost completely disregarded, except by people that are just really into Doomfist. I just think his kit is very binary, because he either jumps on you and bullies you to death, or he jumps on you and you bully him to death, right? Like, that's kind of how it goes. So I don't think his kit is tenable in terms of Overwatch. I feel like he is always going to be a balancing issue until like we figure something out. I don't know. What are the other big ones? 2CP, just generally speaking, was a pretty big mistake. What would be another one? I feel like the game being so reliant on shields ended up being a pretty big mistake. This left us at a point where, like, Reinhardt, the game for a really long period of time revolved almost entirely around Reinhardt. And I don't think that was a good idea. And in terms of ladder, Reinhardt remained strong at all points in time. The game is just, like, really based around, like, having shields. To be honest, though, I don't think there's a way you really solve that other than by just not having shields in the game entirely, which is also obviously not tenable. So it's one of those things I'd be complaining about it either way. I'm complaining that the game is too reliant on shields, but if there were no shields, I'd be complaining that the game had no shields. So you actually can't win in regards to that one. Looks like another really big mistake. Anna's bio grenade is a pretty big mistake, because again, it's always going to be a balancing issue because the anti-heal is just such a strong ability. Like, bio grenade has basically always carried Anna because bio grenade by itself is so strong, and anything else that Anna happens to bring is just a bonus on top. Bio grenade is just so strong. So bio grenade I think is a mistake. I'd rather they just, like, gave her a completely different ability, to be honest with you, because I think I think the anti-heal is so oppressive. That ends up kind of hamstringing everything else as a result as well. Because if anti-heal, like, if you're in a place where, like, Anna is really strong, then that has a knock-on effect of, like, it makes Zenyatta almost completely worthless, because Bio Grenade counters his ultimate, which, you know, which I think you could fix by having Transcendence have an initial burst where it cleanses debuffs. Literally just an initial, when he activates it, there's this wave, purges all debuffs. And then after that, it's just Transcendence. Nothing else about it changes. It's not a constant, like, immunity to debuffs. And then that gives their counterplay because Zen can hold Trance for the Bio Grenade, but Anna can also hold Bio Grenade for the Trance. So I think that would solve that problem, but I don't think they'll ever do that to Trance. So, like, it ends up making, like, Zen really lackluster because her basic ability counters his ultimate, which is terrible value, obviously. And then it also means that other sources of purging debuffs become stronger. Because if Anna's really strong, then Zarya ends up becoming a way more beneficial pick because she has one of the few sources in the game of debuff cleansing. Because the bubble cleanses both herself with her personal bubble, but she can also cleanse another person. So, it has this knock-on effect of making Zen worse and Zarya significantly more important to pick. So I think Bio Grenade is a mistake and it should be removed, to be honest. And then, like, you know, then you go, well, now Trance becomes really strong, I guess. I mean, I guess you could just, like, one-shot the guy still, or you can still just bait Trance out by bullying Zen because he's so easy to bully. You know, there's ways around it, that are not, like, character-specific, you know? Like, there are only a few character-specific ways around Bio Grenade. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Doomfist, and I'm gonna go with Anna as being the other, like, really... Bio Grenade is, like, the really big one. Let's see. I think the drastic over-nerfing of Toes was a mistake. Specifically how much they reduced his damage and when they made his shield harder to move. I feel like, to be honest, either of those were pretty egregious by themselves, but they did both at the same time. And I also think just, like, the drastic nerfing of all shields in general is a big mistake, because now it makes, like, Orisa and Toes, I think, got, like, drastically over-nerfed, and now I have trouble justifying picking them over Reinhardt in most situations. And people also... I might be tempted to say Toes in general is a mistake, because now we're in a point where people are always going to try and play Toes as a main tank, and he's not. And he's just kind of not. Yeah, I think those are the three big ones I'm going to go with. Doomfist, Bio Grenade, and everything they've done to Toes, and Orisa as well by extension, but mostly Toes. Next up. Have you ever had boba? And what's your favorite flavor? I haven't. What's the best way to deal with Tracer and Ball as a support? They seem to be everywhere lately. You get limited options when you're playing as support, pretty much. So, Ana, you can kind of try and fuck up Hammond by sleeping him when he comes in for the pile drive, either trying to get him out of the pile drive, which is harder, or just pile driving him when he slams, or sleeping him when he finishes the pile drive. Because he's then almost certainly going to start shooting at whoever got pile drove, so you can sleep him pretty easily after he's done it. And Tracer, if you can hit her with the Bio Grenade, like, that makes her use recall, and at that point it's way riskier for her to keep doing stuff. So Ana has ways of dealing with this, but Ana is quite vulnerable to dive. So if you're getting no assistance from your teammates, or they have a really dive-heavy comp, Ana's gonna struggle. So your other options at that point are basically change to a support that's better at dealing with divers, or ask your teammates for help, which basically means more CC. Maybe the other healer can change to Bridget, and then she can try and stun them. Let's see, what you can get McCree. Flashbang obviously being pretty tight for stopping both of them. May can fuck up Hammond and be inconvenient for Tracer. Sombra can fuck up both of them, but good luck finding somebody that can play Sombra. And if nobody's willing to help you, you pretty much just got changed to a more survivable support, which in terms of main healer is like Moira. Maybe Baptiste if you're really confident in playing Baptiste. But Moira is just hard to kill, so she's pretty good. If you don't have to play a main healer because the other team, or the other healer is playing one, or you have a pretty like high self-sustained team, you can maybe get away with just running like Lucio Bridget, you know, or just like changing to Lucio if like the other healer is still playing a main healer, because Lucio is just kind of hard to kill. But those are basically your ways of dealing with it. It's just one of those things where divers, like Ball and Tracer, counter supports, so your options are always going to be limited. It's like when tanks ask, like, what do you do about Reaper? Well, Reaper counters tanks, so you have very limited options in how you deal with this, right? Hammond and Tracer counter supports, so, you know, you get the couple of supports that are good at surviving, and, you know. Ana is, like, better than you might think versus them, or at least versus Ball specifically, but you do need to be really careful with how you use your abilities, because if you get caught without your sleep dart and nobody helps you, Hammond's got you dead to rights. Similarly, if you miss Tracer with the Bio Grenade, you better hope somebody helps you or you get a really lucky sleep, you know. The thing is also that, like, the main counter to this is getting help from your teammates and, like, Overwatch. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of all I got for you. It's just one of the things where they counter you, so you only have a couple of, like, real options in terms of defending against them. Next up. I've decided... no, I already answered that one in there. So, next up is... what martial arts are you a big fan of? I like Tai Chi and the snake style because they both share very fluid and flexible movements, though Capoeira is a close contender. So I do just want to say really briefly, I would appreciate it if we did not refer to Tai Chi as a martial art, because it has basically zero practical applications as a martial art. It's closer to a form of meditation. And I say this just because I worry that some people might take Tai Chi thinking it's good for self-defense. It is really not. You will be extraordinarily unhappy if you try to bust out Tai Chi to fend off a mugger. So, just a very brief aside on that one. I forgot to What was the fucking name of this martial art? I'm sorry. Hold on. I've forgotten what the name of it is. Because I'm a big fan of pole arms, and so this one is a pretty... one I'm pretty into. Martial... What can I type in to get this? Oh yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Was it D something? I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry, this is, you know, you're gonna have to give me a moment here to find this one. No, not you. Well, I'm trying to find this one. I'm pretty into Muay Thai as a martial arts. For extraordinarily boring reasons, just that it's very practical. I'm also quite kind of like boxing, and there's a fair bit of overlap in terms of like Muay Thai and boxing, at least in terms of technique. Where the fuck can I find this? Capoeira is also quite good. I am a fan of that one as well. Very fluid movements. It does have a practical application as well, though generally you don't like super sweeping movements in terms of like actual fighting. 'Cause it turns out you just want your movements to be as short and fast as possible. Big sweeping kicks are usually not super ideal for that. How can I find this fucking martial art, dude? Don't do... Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Kabuto. It's not, it wasn't a D, it's a Kabuto. Okay, so, the reason that I like Kabuto is basically, it's really based around, like, a lot of weapons that I'm a big fan of. This doesn't have the full list of weapons that they use. Oh no, it's over here. Okay, so... Kabuto teaches you, and you can get like more specialized versions of these courses, but like Kabuto teaches you all of them. So you got Bo, the bow staff, which I'm a huge fan of pole arms, so that already does it for me. The Eku, which is a weapon originated from an oar, so it's pretty staff adjacent. A Hanbo, which is a half staff. A Kama, a small scythe. It's like, you'll see ninjas with these, where they've got, like, the chain attached to it, like, but just the scythe without, like, the chain attached to it. Kua, which is a weapon based on the garden hoe, so that's also staff adjacent. Nunchucks, I don't really care, I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. A Nuntai bow, which is a spear with hooks on it, so it's like... Can you actually see me while I'm doing this? Like, the blade's here, and there's a hook that goes... through it, so you like hook it onto people and like hook their weapons out of their hands. Sai, which is the three-pronged dagger. Raphael, Ninja Turtle, uses that. Then there's the Sansetsu-kun, which is it's not a three-section staff. It's closer to a pair of nunchucks with a third segment in it, but it's pretty close to that. Surujin, which is... You know the thing I was talking about with the scythe and then the chain attached to it? This would be just the chain, the weighted chain or rope without the scythe attached to it. Tambo, which is classified as a short staff, but it's basically just a baton. Teko, which is brass knuckles. Tinbei Rochin, which is a spear and shield, and then Tonfas, which I'm a big fan of. And that's all the weapons you get to learn how to use in Kabuto. So Kabuto I'm a very big fan of, just because I like most of those weapons, and they teach you all of them. So yeah, that's my favorite one, though I do also like Muay Thai a lot. Capoeira is cool, doubtlessly. Is there another one? Can I think of, like, another one? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just boring but practical, pretty much. So that's a good one, you know. Don't do karate, by the way. I did karate. I got to a brown belt in karate. That's a fucking boring martial arts, dude. Fuck it, martial art. Like, it's pretty good. Like, the thing is, you'll almost certainly be able to find, like, a place that'll teach you karate, right? But if you're looking for, like, somewhere to teach you capoeira, you might have a little bit more trouble tracking down one of them. But fucking karate is a boring martial art. Don't do that one if you can avoid it. There are way better ones than that. It's like pretty practical. It's just really boring. Can I think of another one? Is there another one that I'm like really into? I'm just scrolling down this list of martial arts styles now, like, you know, to see if any of them stick out to me. I didn't know Jailhouse Rock was considered a martial arts style, but hey, Jailhouse is a martial arts system that was developed in the US prison system. Fair enough, that makes sense. What exactly do they do? I'm just, you know, now I gotta look at this one. I have to imagine it's pretty based on, like, dealing with weapons. Like, unarmed. Hand blocks, based on fighting in small confined locations. That certainly does make sense. So it's probably, so I guess it's probably pretty close to boxing, actually. Whatever. I just didn't know that was a martial arts. Any others? This is a long list. Yo, there's a lot of martial arts, dude. There's a lot of martial arts. Aikido is kind of cool on principle, but it is like a super not useful martial arts. It's basically teaching you how to deal. It predominantly deals with, like, you dealing with weapons while you're unarmed. I think that's the martial arts that Steven Seagal uses. I think there's like one, like, action movie star, old school one that does Aikido. I think it's him. It's kind of cool in idea, but it's not super useful, like, as a martial arts. Okay, alright, low-key, sumo's pretty good, actually. Sumo is kinda interesting. Low-key. Oh, Taekwondo, of course. Taekwondo, I'm a huge fan of Taekwondo. Again, a lot of, like, sweeping movements. Quite fun to watch people do that. God, there's a lot of martial arts, dude. Oh, what's that one Filipino one? The fucking the sticks. What's the fucking sticks? The Kali sticks, yes. What's that based off? Eskrima. I assume Eskrima is the one that's using this Kali sticks. Kali sticks I quite like as weapons also. Very staff adjacent, you know. I quite like that one as well, actually. So Kabuto's the big one though, because it's got like all the weapons I like. Bow staffs, tonfas, big fan of those. Then I might say Eskrima right after, the thing I pronounce this differently every time, the Kali sticks. It's definitely Kali sticks. I'm a big fan of them. And then Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Capoeira, all of them are like pretty adjacent to each other on the list, to be honest. The one I would really like to learn is Kabuto, though. And then next up, are there any supports that are worth damage boosting? I like to boost my Bridget when she's swinging, Moira when she ults, and Zen. Baptiste is pretty good, to be honest. Baptiste does, like, basically DPS damage. Are there any other circumstances I damage boost a support other than the ones you listed? Maybe if, like, no, because why would that ever happen? I was gonna say if they got nano boosted, but that would be a really weird situation where you were playing Mercy and someone else was playing Moira and nano boosted a third support, so that wouldn't happen. Yeah, Baptiste is just, like, pretty good in general to damage boost, because he's basically like a long-range hit-scan DPS in practical terms. So he's pretty good just in general to damage boost. Like, if you don't have, like, a better DPS to damage, like, if you don't have, like, a soldier that you can reasonably damage boost right now, or, like, who else? Like Ash, Widow, Hanzo. If you don't have anybody like that either on your team or they're somewhere you can't get to them right now, but there's a Baptiste. Baptiste is just pretty good in general. Like, you can kind of think of him as like a third DPS in terms of damage boosting, like as long-range DPS go. Yeah, Baptiste is pretty good in general. I would encourage you to think of him as being like basically another DPS when it comes to damage boosting. The actual DPS will almost certainly be better. Like the Soldier, McCree, Ash, Widow, all of them. They'll be better than Baptiste. But if you're missing any of the really good targets, or you can't get to them right now, but you can get up to Baptiste, Baptiste is good at filling that slot for damage boost. Outside of that, yeah, basically just when Moira's, or when Bridget's swinging, when Moira's ulting, or Zenyatta in general, because, you know, again, same thing, Zenyatta's basically another long-range DPS, right? Yeah, Baptiste is the only one I'd really add to that. Other than that, yeah, basically just the ones you said. And that's all I got for you this week, so thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I start streaming on Twitch Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST, link channel in the description. Hopefully we'll get back to that, but so hopefully I'm not sick again. If you've got a team you like in Dragon Ball Fighterz, let me know. We'll play that next time. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, like the video, subscribe, all that, thank you. I think I fucked that up because I tried to add an extra thing in there and I got, you know, whatever. Anyway, goodbye.